It was December 1969. We were in Pagoda Valley, and we had this buck sergeant. He comes over and he says, "Hey, Jerris," he says, "You know they got Bob Hope show in Da Nang?" And I'm looking at him. I'm just getting ready to eat up some sea rats for breakfast. A rare occasion that we had chow, really. And I looked at him and I said, "So what the hell are you telling me for? We're in goddamn Pagoda Valley." He goes, "Well," he says, "we can send one guy from each squad in for the show, for the USO show." All right. So I said to him, "Look, I'll deal with it. I'll tell the other squad leaders, and then they can handle it any way they want." So I went up to the other two squad leaders, and I told them, "Look, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to tell them, throw their name in the piss pot, write it down, piece of paper. Someone draws it out. Whoever name comes out, they go to the show. End the story. You do what you want to do. It's your squad, not mine." So they all basically did the same thing. And I go to my squad, which was 1-3. And I said to them, "Listen, this is what's going on. They got a USO show in Da Nang. And what we're going to do is write your names in and throw it in the piss pot. Someone pull it out. Whoever name is drawn, they go to the show. End the story. Leave me alone when I finish my breakfast." So now the guys get together and they said, "We got to get him out of the bush. Even if it's for an hour or two, just get him out of here because he's driving us nuts, blah, blah, blah." So they says, "Well, if he finds out that we rigged this, he's going to have us digging holes to China. You know how he is. So they said, "Well, we'll pull this off." So now they all walk up to me and they said, "You lucky son of a gun, you." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, your name was pulled out of the pot to go to the USO show." And I looked up at him and I said, "I didn't even put my name in it." And my radio man, Lee, said, "No, Juris, I put your name in there." So now the sergeant comes back and he says, "The birds are en route, so you guys get up there. So I took all the guys that was going to the show and we waited for the bird landed. We got on and we're going to Freedom Hill. So I said to them, "Listen, we stay together. This way we leave together. Okay." Now, we were in the field at that time, 90 days maybe. We were ripe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we were ripe. Okay.
Mm.
Uh, our fatigues, there were jungles. You couldn't even tell they were jungles. That's how filthy they were. We used to get the safety pins off the bandoliers and just try to hold our asses together so it wouldn't be showing it. That's us, okay? We were known as the horrible hogs of hotel company. So we go to the show and we're moving down to the area because they had the stage set up. They had everybody from the hospital in blue pajamas up there. And we moved over to the right. Well, I started noticing people were moving away from us. And they were like whispering, which is fine because we got a better view of the stage. But I'm saying they were good, maybe 15, 20 feet all around us, moving backward. It didn't dawn on me that we smelled that bad because we all smelled alike. We didn't know any better,
Mhm.
but we got a good view of the show. So after the show was all done, I went back into the LZ and got on a bus. Now I knew where they picked us up. So I said to the crew chief, "Where you going?" You know, my company's back there. Now they moved up about 25 clicks north. This is Christmas Day. Ceasefire. Both sides agreed. All of a sudden, as soon as he said that, we heard ding, 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 ding. Holy shit. So I looked at everybody and I said, listen, when we land, keep your head and ass down. Get back to your squads, okay? I'll tell the LT we're back, all right?
But that was small arms fire hitting the helo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was ripping right on through the helo, right? So finally they land and everybody scatters and they're going. Larry Bates is on the machine gun. I look down, he went through 3 ammo cans already. That's a serious firefight. That's a battle. So he rolls over and he smiles at me and he says, welcome back, Jers. And I gave him some choice words, okay? And I ran off and I went over to the LT. So I'm telling him that we're back and this and that. I'm glad you're back. He's saying blah, 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 blah. And I looked and I seen this Catholic priest and he's running. And I look out and I can still see the altar set up. The chalice is still on the altar. And he dives in this Huey, an Army Huey chopper was out there. He dives in there. So I looked at the lieutenant and I said, huh, so much for that theory. And he says, what are you talking about? I said, growing up, that's all they ever said. They wanted to be close to God. He missed his opportunity. Look, he dove on the chopper. The lieutenant looked at me and said, you're really sick. Get over there with your squad, right? So now I go back to my squad. He leaves his helper there, his assistant.
The chaplain did.
Yeah, he just got on a burden. He wanted to get out of there. Now, he was a conscientious objector. He just didn't believe in taking someone's life, you know?
This was the assistant was a conscientious objector.
Yes. So right away, Larry says, well, shit, we'll utilize him. He'll carry my ammo cans. And that's what he did for 3 days. He stayed out there with us for 3 days. I mean, he stayed there. And then finally, what they did was they brought us chow out, Christmas chow, on the 28th. Now, someone left that chow out on the tarmac. And I tell you, every man was sick. I mean, even the corpsmen, they were trying to take care of us, but, and I say that even to this day, they missed their opportunity because if they would have hit us at that time, they would have wiped us out. They would have wiped us out.
Because everybody was sick from the spoiled food.
And we couldn't fight. I mean, it was terrible. And our captain, he received an accommodation from division. We were the only unit in Vietnam that made contact with the enemy. The only unit in Vietnam. So we were like a mag.
During that truce.
Yeah, during that truce. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So now we move over and we get word. Large units coming through Laos. So the birds come, they pick us up, take us over by the antenna. Now we're right near Death Valley again. I'm like, oh man, this is December. I should be out of here. 13 months. I should be on my way out. Well, all the guys they know that my mind now is like, I'm too short to be out here. You know what I mean? I should have been gone. So they say to Larry, you got to go over there and talk to Jersey. So Larry says, why me? He goes, well, you're the only one that he won't rip your head off, He says, all right. So he walks over to me and he goes, you all right, man? I'm like, I'm just too short for this shit. And being so close to Death Valley again, gave you the heebie-jeebies. So he throws a marble over. We smoked a couple cigarettes and we're talking this and that. So we stayed out there for about maybe 11 days. And now we're coming back in. Well, actually, the skipper calls and says, we're on the move again. So we formed up, and first platoon, for some reason, was always out by ourselves. And don't get me wrong, I loved it that way. We could do what we had to do to get the job done. And he would take like second and third platoon with him. So we split up. They went around a mountain and we went through the valley. Now, as we're going through the valley, and I'm point, I walked point from February 1969. And the reason I did that was because I didn't feel anyone there other than Dono was that good enough to walk the point because it was that bad out there with booby traps and the Viet Cong and NVA. And I'm not boasting, it was just factual. Okay. So as we're walking down and I notice something and I get the hand up, stop. Lieutenant comes up, he says, "What do you got, Jers?" And I'm like, "To the left." And he looked, and I don't even look at that thing. He says, "What do you mean?" And I said, "That's called a daisy chain." He said, "A daisy chain?" I said, "Yes, a daisy chain. I've seen this once before." And he says, "Well, we're going to blow it?" And I said, "Oh, no, 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 no. No one's blowing this." I said, "This is what you do. You get on the horn. You call engineers. We'll mark it. We'll wait here till they come. They'll handle this. That's beyond us. Because you don't know where it begins and you don't know where it ends. And it's actually designed to take out a whole platoon. So normally it's either a 105 round that didn't go off or a 250 pound bomb. And you don't want to mess with something like that. That's not our job. So we waited. Engineers came out. We moved back. They blew it. We start moving out again. And I look up and I can see this OV-10 flying around, like following us. I'm like, Jesus God. So I hollered back to the LT and I said, "I hope he realizes that we're friendlies down here. I don't like the way he's following us. Anybody making contact with that OV-10 up there?" No response. Okay. So now we're getting closer into the where the two mountains are starting to come together, and I stopped the column again. The LT came up because, "What do you got, Jers?" And I said, "I don't like this." Because, "What do you mean?" I said, "It kind of reminds me when we were out by the horseshoe." I said, "We moved in the same direction that we're going in." I says, "And we got hit." I said, "Listen, if we move into the shape of an arrow, you got one squad on each side, and you got a squad in the middle." I said, "If they hit us on either flank, we can form a defensive position instead of being in a straight line." He says, "I like that idea." So we start moving out in that formation. Now the OV-10's still following us, and I'm really getting kind of worried. And he's coming down lower and he's going up. And so I said to the LT again, I said, "Did you make," and I can see him on the horn. I turned around and one on Hill 105 is like right in front of us. And I hear the LT holler, "Double time to that hill." And we're start double timing. Then I hear him say, "Triple time." And when he said triple time, I said to all the guys, "Drop your packs." Everybody dropped their packs. Now, everybody in first platoon knew one thing. And I told every man that came to first platoon, you never carry extra mags or ammo in your pack. You keep it on your body because you drop pack, you run out of ammo, it's back there. You're in a world of shit. So you keep that on your person. So everybody, they all had their shit together. We dropped our packs. As we're running up towards the hill now, this 105 Air Force jet pilot is zooming in, and I could hear, that's a napalm canister turning. I'm like, oh my God, do you think we're the enemy? Thing goes right over us, hits on the other side of the hill, and now we could hear screaming. We get up to the top of the hill. Oh, these NVA are on fire. They're burning. So now we're popping them. Nothing you can do. You got to, just shoot them. So I look out into the valley there, and I can see 3 NVA flags. And you can hear the whistles blowing and the horns tooting. They had to have at least 3 to 4 regiments. They must have spotted us coming through. They knew who we were, and they thought they had the upper hand on us. Well, they didn't realize that we had a 105 coming in, and the OV-10 was watching from way up above now, okay? So now we're on top of this hill, and there's that, and I mean thousands and thousands of NVA soldiers out there. Well, the 105, he's working out also. And then as I'm looking, and you're always, it's a cat and mouse game over there. It's no mystery, really. It's a cat and mouse game. And the only way you actually know is through experience. You live through these things. And I remember on Taylor, same thing happened where they came out and they flanked us. And they hit us pretty hard that day. And I was not going to let that happen again. So now Larry's up on the hill with the gun. And I said to Bates, watch my back. And I said, 1-3 on me. And all my guys in my squad, they followed me out into the valley. And I knew what they would do is they would drop off a little packs, maybe 8, 10 of them. And they would actually let the bigger columns get away. So they would sacrifice themselves in order for the bigger columns to get away.
This is the NVA.
This is the NVA. So I said to all my guys, keep your eyes open, they'll be dropping off. And Larry could see them from being on top of that hill. He's laying down machine gun fire all around them. And as they're jumping up, we're popping them. We're taking them left and right. Well, my radio man, who was Lee Graff, he was probably one of the best. And no matter what you said to Lee, he would say it over the net, word for word, which you had to do, because one word, you can be calling in something that you don't want. You know what I'm saying? And he was really good at that. So now, I said to Lee, you stay here. I don't need you out there with me, because he has that Prick 25 on his back. That's a lot of weight to be running around out there. So he stayed back on the hill, and a lieutenant came up, and he utilized the Lee on his radio. And Captain McCarthy was probably one of the best company commanders, okay, that I served under, really. The only problem that I had with McCarthy was he wanted to know what was going on at the time it was going on. And, there's 2 elements that you need to take full control of. Whether you're a squad leader or a platoon commander, it doesn't matter. That's your men and the situation. Because if you lose either one of those, you lost the fight. And you don't have time to explain. See, this is why you write reports after the fact. And he calls up, and the lieutenant said to him, to Lee, tell him I ain't got time to talk to his damn ass now or whatever, something like that effect. Well, he said exactly what the lieutenant said. Now the skipper's peeved. So he flies in on the chopper with Colonel Alberts. Now we're still down in the valley, Okay. And then now we're starting to retreat back because the NVA was out there. They're all going and they're moving over towards New Chung. Others were going towards this tree line. Surprise, surprise. They had an Arvin group out there, mind you. I think they were Marines, honestly, South Vietnamese Marines with a CAC unit. And when they started running towards that tree line, it kind of reminded me of like the Civil War days where you seen all the smoke. And that's what it looked like. And there was body. I mean, unbelievable. So now the skipper comes in with the colonel, and he goes up to the lieutenant and he grabs him by the back of the neck, and he's really putting pressure on him, you know. And Albertson, he looks out and he sees all these dead NVA, and he asks the corpsman, "Anybody hurt? Got any injuries?" Colonel said, or the corpsman says, "Not even a scratch, sir." Outstanding, you know. He was just happy as a pig in shit, basically. When we first got to Baldy, it was a Wild Wild West. So I go to the lieutenant and I said to him, "What's wrong with this picture?" "What do you mean, Gers?" I said, "You think they don't have this tarmac zeroed in for all these trucks over here?" So he says, "Don't worry about it. You guys are moving out to a bunker." So now we're walking down on Baldy from the tarmac, from the landing zones. And I looked up and I seen 50, 60, 50, 60 alternate each bunker. So I said to my guys, "Man, this must be a pretty good gig here, you know?" So we go in the bunker, and these 3 Army guys were in there, and they're cleaning out their gear. And I said, "Yeah, this might be pretty sweet out here. Finally, we're going to get a break." And one guy turned around and said, "Break? You know, they haven't run a foot patrol off these cells in years." I'm like, "What?" He says, "No, they only use choppers for patrolling." We all looked at each other and we started hollering for our lieutenant, "Rudy!" It was Charles Balance. He comes down, he goes, "Now what's your problem?" And I said, "Tell the LT what you just told us." And he told him. He went up the hill. I guess he told somebody, but, you know. So then the next day we went to Ross, and we humped the Ross. And we got there, we got situated, which was our home base there. And he came down to 3rd Squad, and he said, "Listen, we need to find out what the hell's going on out here." And we all agreed. So he said, "You guys got a patrol. Get ready to take a patrol out." So the first village off of Ross, I would say, was probably maybe 2.5, maybe 3 clicks. So I got to the edge of that village, and I'm still, you know, in camouflage, basically. I'm not exposed yet. And I called the squad leader up, and he says, "What do you got?" And I said, "Well, listen," I said, "I'm going to go out. Just watch and see the reaction of the people in this village when they see me." He says, "All right." So I start walking out, and you can tell they were shocked. And I think the last time they seen a round eye was when the French was out there, because that was the response when we went into that village. So right away we called back to the LT. We said, "It's confirmed. It's confirmed," you know. So we knew we were in a pretty bad place. The colonel said, "We did not take that hill, 441. We took the hill. We spent the night up on that hill. We were the first one, and it took us maybe almost 9.5 hours, because they finally hit it with artillery, and it was all blown away, had no cover, and they were on top, and we're fighting going upward, which is hell. But we finally took it. We spent the night up there, and I remember Pop coming over to me and said, "Gers, tomorrow morning, we got to get off this hill. We got to go down. We got to get a 360 going, because we got to get choppers coming in with resupply. We got a lot of casualties and also heat stroke guys. We got to get them out of here." I said, "The top, not a problem." So And what we did that night was they were saying, how are we going to put these claymores out? Because the snipers, you stand up, they're going to take you. They were that good. They really were. And I said, well, you ain't going to stand up going down there on the hill doing it. I said, low crawl. First guy goes down as far as he can. The second guy holds on to his legs. Third guy's going to hold on to him. Going to plant the claymore down, and then we're going to pull them up. And that's how we're going to do it. And that's how we basically set up for the night, on that hill. And they probed us all and everything. But like I said, we just chucked frags and everything.
And next, which hill was this?
441.
Oh, this is 441.
Yeah. And the next day, we got down and he threw up a 360. We're waiting for the birds to come in. Lieutenant Michael Quinn, another hero. And I mean another hero. He asked everybody in second platoon for volunteers. He knew they had the 51s out there. And if the choppers came in and they got 51 round, they were going to pull away. So that means we don't get resupply or guys that was injured can't get out. So he went out and he did a recon of the area. Now, Top said, we're going back into Ross because we're an inefficient unit. We lost too many guys. So I looked at everybody in my squad and I said, give me your damn canteens. What are you going to do? I said, I'm going down to that blue line and I'm going to fill up the canteens. We ain't going to pass out from the heat. So Lee Graff says, want me to go with you, George? I said, no, I got this. We're all here. So it's no biggie. It's only 20 feet away. So I took my belt off. I put all the canteens through the belt, threw it over my shoulder, and I'm walking down. Now I'm filling up the canteens. And out of the corner of my eye, I seen movement. So naturally, I looked over, and I can see it's Mike Quinn's patrol, Lieutenant Quinn's. So I start filling up the canteens again. All of a sudden, I can hear crack, 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 coming out of this little half blown away hooch. I grab my 16. I'm firing into that hooch. Fortunately, Lieutenant Quinn got killed. His radio man got shot. Everybody comes down and they see me firing that area, so they concentrated on that area. But we went over. We couldn't find nothing. Not even the casings, the shells. They cleaned it up and they must have went to a spider hole. But Mike Quinn was killed that day. But I'll tell you, if he did not take that patrol out, them choppers would have got thrown away, really. So he's another hero.